I immersed myself in the history of Milledgeville and Baldwin County.
We have a beautiful community, you know, to drive through and ride through and just see all kinds of different people in town.
We decided Milledgeville was a fantastic town, weather, people, a great place to raise children, and so we decided that we would set up practice in Milledgeville.
That's great.
I came to the Women's College, and then as into my sophomore year, they announced that we were going to become co-ed.
Okay.
And, you know, when you're in an all-women's school and you're running the show, so to speak, we didn't really want those guys to come and take over, because we could see that the identity that we had as a women's college was going to diminish and go away, and in fact it did.
And our saving grace was the fact that we had Georgia College and State University, Georgia Military College, and Central Georgia Tech, because we've had plants to close. We're a community that at one time we were almost destitute, I guess you would say, because Ring closed and all these factories closed, and these people were jobless. It just really hit our community really, really hard, you know. But we had those 3 institutions of higher learning that was, like I say, it's somewhat our saving grace. You know, and but hopefully we can build back and do something for the mental health crisis, and not only in this community, in all communities.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's one.
As far as other historic preservation, you know, I wish there had been more money poured into the preservation or the restoration and preservation of African American communities in Milledgeville, because their stories were significant. Not only from the Civil War, but, you know, all through Jim Crow times too. There were some remarkable African American leaders in that community. You know, it became a thriving black community, and it's a shame that more has not been done to tell that story and to preserve that part of town.
There was a train that ran from the state hospital through the middle of town. It was the only train in Georgia that had to stop at the stoplight. And it stopped at the stoplight right in the middle of downtown Milledgeville, right in front of where my daddy's barbershop was. But I remember as a child my mother taking me downtown and taking me by the hand to cross that street, and we'd have to step over the railroad track going to my daddy's barbershop.
Now, I think it's nice the way it's survived. I mean, the huge amount of growth. With GMC too. GMC's still growing. Oh my gosh. That's what makes this town what it is. It's hard to picture this, but there were great big trees all up and down Clark Street.
Okay.
They didn't quite arch over the street, because the streets have always been wide, because Milledgeville was designed to be a capital with wide streets. But they were big trees, and then underneath them they had planted dogwood trees. So in the spring, right about now, when the dogwood was blooming, you had the elm, and they were elm trees, and I guess that was part of the downfall, because elm trees get sick from a lot of different things. But every street was tree lined with great big trees, and then this understory of dogwood, and it was just gorgeous.
I think that I wish people understood the importance of making the pilgrimage and seeing it for themselves, and seeing Milledgeville, and actually of the cemetery, which I think has the history of Milledgeville and the graves that date way back into the 17th century, 18th century, 19th century, but also that have the 3, Flannery and her father and mother, such an intimate group, and both those 2 people who made such an impression on Flannery.
The last thing I'd like to ask you is, what do you want people to remember about Milledgeville?
That we're a very diverse community. I think as a whole, we try to be a very loving and supporting community. A helping community. Caring. And that, when you remember when you're in Milledgeville, you can get anywhere from here.
That's true.